Hello and welcome to another edition of Heritage Talk on the Heritage Supporters Group. My name is Damien Heads, aka the Young PJW. Today we have a very exciting episode for you. It is the election special. So there's a number of elections going on today. We have the local elections. We also have the Welsh elections, the Scottish elections. We've had the Hartlepool by-election, which has already happened. And that's it, I think.
I'm not sure this is my end that's cutting out or yours.
I think it's you. I'm not sure. Am I looking good? Okay, we might have some
cut out a bit there. I'm not sure if that's just on my end or for everyone else as well.
Okay, well, if there's anyone in the comments, let us know if you're having any problems.
Shouldn't be. I'm not running anything.
It might be something to do with me, but that's I've just earlier released a load of lime cordial all over my table, including my laptop. So that might be something to do with it. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So I think we should go over the Hartlepool result first of all. And I mean, Conservatives had a massive win there. They got 15,529 votes. And Labour got 8,589. So that's over 7,000 majority there. This seat has never been Conservative ever since it's been created. It's been Labour the whole time it's existed. And also, we have to give a shout out to our candidate, Claire Martin from the Heritage Party, who got 468 votes, which I would like to point out is more than Reform UK. More than the Green Party, more than the Lib Dems. In fact, she came fourth overall, which is not bad at all. And UKIP and Reclaim didn't even show at all. So they didn't even put up a candidate, which is pretty odd. I'm not sure if that might be something to do for Reclaim with not having their name fully registered or something, but there's no excuse for UKIP. I don't know why they didn't stand a candidate. That seems like a bonkers decision to me. What do you reckon?
I'm going to try reconnecting because this is very, very choppy.
Well, we can still get you good enough. So why don't you give us a little insight into what you think of the Hartlepool election? Okay, it's not looking too good for Adnan right now.
No, I'm getting like every other word of what you're saying.
Okay. Well, tell us what you think of the Hartlepool result. Oh dear. Okay, I think it is an issue on Adnam's end. It's not mine. I thought because I spilt a load of my drink on my computer that maybe that was part of it. But I think it is Adnam's fault. So we'll blame Adnam for this. I'd also like to give a shout out to Tiger Patel of Blackburn with his viral campaign video. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but it's one of the most hilarious campaign videos I've ever seen. It's literally just him. I'll get rid of Adnan for the moment. It's literally just him on a swing. No, sorry, he's not on a swing. He's going through a children's playground in Blackburn, and it's got like some Pakistani music or something in the background. And literally all he does is walk into the playground, push the swing, and just look at the camera like ever so weirdly. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. It's brilliant. So it's not just me and Adnan today. We're also going to have the Heritage Party candidate for Hartlepool on, Claire Martin. So we're going to get her on probably in about the next 10 minutes. And also Sean Finch of Heritage Party. I know that a lot of people will be saying with the election results, with the local council seats, it has been a big victory for the Conservatives as far as I can see with the results still coming in. A lot of people will be saying, well, is this a good result? Because the Tories are neoliberal backstabbers as it is. But I'm going to take some enjoyment out of this because I've been waiting to see the demise of Labour for a long time now. And so just to see Labour get absolutely annihilated is good enough for me at the moment. It's good enough for me. And don't get me wrong, we can worry about crushing the Tories. We can get back to crushing the Tories as soon as possible. But just to see Labour, those pissweasel communists, finally destroyed, that's pretty good. I can see we've got Adnan back, so let's see if I can add him and see if it works this time.
That's much better.
Right, we're good.
I think that was something on my connection.
No problem. Tell us what you thought about the Hartlepool result.
Well, what's interesting about it is the Conservatives didn't really gain many votes. It's only, since the 2017 election, it's only about 1,000 more votes. Whereas Labour lost about 11,000. So this isn't a mass exodus to the Tories or to other parties. It's people just not voting Labour.
So you're saying that the Conservatives didn't actually add many votes to their count at all?
No.
Oh, okay. This is something new to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Labour went down from about 21,000 to 8,000, I believe, whereas Conservatives went from 14,000 to 15,000.
Right, okay. But it's interesting because you had Nigel Farage. He did a statement on Facebook and Twitter earlier. He basically said the Labour voters switched their vote. UKIP moved the Labour voters to UKIP. And then the working class voters who wants Labour then went to the Conservatives from UKIP. And so he basically said it as if it was his total fault why these people have switched the Conservatives. But actually, from what you're saying, they haven't switched at all. They've just stopped voting Labour.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's more of a case of people have just become that disillusioned with Labour. I think there's still a very strong anti-Conservative, at least Boris Johnson's Conservative sentiment at the moment, because, for a myriad of reasons, of course. But I think generally it's just Labour's doing that badly. It turns out that constantly condescending to your voter base and insulting them doesn't actually win you votes. Who would have thought?
Well, my analysis of it would be that Labour have been very far left for many years now, but it took Jeremy Corbyn to fully get people to recognise that. And after that, we had Keir Starmer, and he's trying to bring this position of, yes, we're much more moderate now, and we're for the working class and stuff as well. Everyone who knows anything about Keir Starmer knows that he's a complete Trotskyite. And I think that these voters just don't buy it, do they? They know what Labour are about now.
I would disagree with you there. I don't think Labour have generally been that far left. I think there is a strong far left movement within Labour, but Labour as a whole, I don't think are.
Are you talking about in their policies or in the politicians?
In their policies.
Okay.
But in their membership, there is this very far left movement, which has sort of taken over, I think. And it's obviously Keir Starmer's come in and, as you say, he's trying to move things a bit more towards the centre as such, but he is just Tory light. He is trying to go back to Blair, and Blair is kind of where Labour started going wrong. Labour hasn't really been Labour since 1997, when they really kind of gave up on the working class.
Yeah. I mean, when did Labour really give up on the working class? What was the moment? I guess it was, I mean, a lot of the madness started with Tony Blair, I would say.
Yeah,
the working class.
Blair's idea of increasing social mobility through getting everyone to go to university and trying to effectively eliminate the working class by making everyone university educated kind of shot him in the foot there, because it moved Labour away from its traditional voter base. And Labour traditionally, if you take it back to its very original roots, it was, in comparison to the Tories, which always stood for society and a caste system almost of class and rule by status, whereas Labour traditionally stood for rule, and liberalism before it traditionally stood for rule by mercantile. So you could trade your way up, you could work your way up, which Labour seems to be very opposed to now.
Yes.
And somehow the Conservatives seem to be very pro-Labour in terms of mercantile and trading. which seems to make no sense at all.
Yeah. I'm going to try and get Sean Finch in as soon as he's available as well. For anyone who doesn't know Sean Finch, he's a very passionate campaigner for Heritage Party. I believe he used to be in the Libertarian Party before. And it's interesting to see how someone will go to a party named the Heritage Party from the Libertarian Party, which you would consider, I guess, more traditional conservative, really. But I think that Heritage is kind of trying to, I don't want to say emulate UKIP, because it's not emulating UKIP, but we're very much sort of a conservative party with libertarian tendencies, I would say.
Trying to do what UKIP did, but more coherently.
Yeah, with a more solid foundation and without complete tyrants running it. And another thing I want to mention, in fact, I'm really excited to see Neil Hamilton lose his seat today. So I can't wait for that to happen, because for some people that know and some people that don't, I very much attribute a lot of UKIP's downfall to Neil Hamilton, because I believe that he was very much pulling a lot of the strings.
If you're looking at the results at the moment, the United Kingdom Independence Party is down 17 councillors.
UKIP are down 17 councillors?
Yep. They currently have 0.
They currently have 0. So I'm pretty certain UKIP are going to have no councillors whatsoever.
They're going to have no anything by the end of this.
No anything, yeah. So that'll be the final. Yeah, that'll be the final nail in the coffin for UKIP, as Celtic Crusader just pointed out.
It's quite interesting looking at all of these results so far, because Labour are down 4 councils and down 169 councillors, whereas the Conservatives are up 157 councillors.
Sorry, repeat that last one.
The Conservatives are up 157 councillors.
Right. Okay. And we've still got so many results to go yet.
Definitely.
It's still only been it's still less than half of the country which has been announced for the local elections, isn't it?
Yeah,
I would say.
And of course, then we've got the mayoral results tomorrow. And you said you think Sadiq Khan will still win.
I think it's going to be a landslide for Sadiq Khan. I think he's just way too popular, and as if people need reminding, London's far too gone now into a crazy metropolitan, multicultural hellhole. So don't get me wrong, I do actually love London, and I enjoy places in London, but politically, forget about it.
I wouldn't be as confident as you that Khan win. On the grounds, I think a similar thing could happen as happened in Hartlepool. A lot of Labour voters are just going to not vote. Now, I think Khan might still get a majority, but I don't think it's going to be a landslide by a long stretch.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see. I think we won't. So we're not going to see those results till tomorrow. Or you reckon tomorrow? Because I've heard.
The London mayoral candidacy is to be announced tomorrow.
Right. I'd just like to make you aware also of another story that someone sent me earlier. And it says here, anti-vaccination candidate performs Nazi salute outside Glasgow election counts.
Yes,
have you heard of this?
These are members of the Libertarian Party, I believe.
This is the Liberal Party.
Is it the Liberal Party?
And I think people who know the older episodes, we actually had, was it Richard something? He used to be a member of the Liberal Party in Cornwall, I believe. I think he must be doing it as a sort of protest against the restrictions rather than actually endorsing Nazism.
Yes, given what Scotland's introduced in terms of the hate speech bills, and so forth, I'd assume this is what that is more about than actually having a Nazi candidate.
Still, it is a very bold move.
I mean, Dankula's going to have to step up his game.
Yeah. Okay, we have Sean Finch now. Let's add Sean Finch in. Hello, Sean, live from the pub. How you doing? Not very talkative. Fair enough.
Today's just going to be a day of connection issues, I think.
Yeah. So I think I think Sean might be with Claire actually in a pub in Hartlepool somewhere, celebrating the result, I imagine.
Understandably.
Let's remove him for the moment, and if it looks like he's moving again, then we'll add him. In the meanwhile, I will invite Claire. Hopefully she has a better connection. Okay. Keep talking, Adnan.
In the meantime, there was something I was going to try and raise up. There has been a court case against the government over the past month or so regarding the restrictions imposed on hospitality. And it was about 3 weeks ago, the government was meant to respond and provide their evidence. And they stalled and got it delayed. They provided their evidence. The judge was meant to provide a ruling by the end of the week. There was no High Court judge available, strangely enough. So it was meant then delayed to be due at the end of the next week. And they just didn't do it until the week after. And they ruled with the government. Now, what's interesting, though, is the one of the people pushing behind this court case, Satchel Lord, he's been releasing the evidence the government put out. And it doesn't support their conclusion at all. And I mean in the slightest. I'm trying to get the actual things up.
So what's their legal basis for going against the government on the lockdown restrictions?
It's the government does not have any evidence to continue to have indoor hospitality closed.
Oh, so this is just hospitality?
Yeah, because indoor retail is primarily open now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm going to quote directly from the source of the government's Equality Impact Assessment. From this, the reopening of hospitality venues with outdoor capacity is likely to be beneficial for young adults, whilst the continued closure of indoor hospitality and leisure is likely to remain disproportionately harmful as hospitality workers aged 16 to 24 years old comprise 37% of the workforce compared to 11% across the UK economy. Similarly, another quote, again, this is word for word. Eating out in any food outlet or restaurant was not associated with increased odds of becoming a COVID-19 subject in any case control study.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Adnan, but I think we might be able to get Sean now. Let's have a go. Okay. Sean, can you hear us? We got. Oh, we almost had him. I see we've got Claire almost joined as well. It must be because.
Oh, we got a little bit.
I think we've got you, Sean. Say something.
I thought we got it still in.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you. For about
great.
2 seconds.
It's a really bad connection. I'm actually I'm at a pub.
Okay, he's at a pub.
Very near to the Olympia. Not too strict. I won't say where it is. They're not too strict on the mask wearing and the social distancing. So we try and reward these people by going to their pub. So we've got a contingent here. Not just heritage.
Yeah, connection issues. Okay, Sean, I think we might have to drop you again there. Sorry, mate. We tried.
We're trying. We can hope.
Hello, everyone. Hello to people in the comments. Anyone who has a question, please drop it in the comments and we'll answer.
Well, there seems to be one already. Do I trim, wash, oil, and comb my beard? Yes, I do, but I just got in from work, so I didn't have time.
For anyone that doesn't know, I'm standing myself in Woking in a couple different locations, and apparently they've started counting the results about an hour ago. So I don't know if I'll find out whether I'm the new councillor of Woking or not. We'll have to see.
Well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I will. I'll keep the results open and see what we can find.
So how are we doing for the local election results? I guess they're not going to be rolling in too quickly just yet. It depends on when they're counting, because if mine are counting only an hour ago, I don't know why they only started counting an hour ago. But then I guess a lot of other councils might be doing the same, right? You would think they would just. Yeah. You'd think they would just count them as soon as the votes were done and just do it through the night. But I guess maybe they don't get paid enough for that.
Wouldn't surprise me. Currently have 66 of 143 councils declared.
Can you say that again?
There are 66 out of 143 councils declared.
Okay. So have you got losses and gains for Conservative and
yes,
Labour?
Yeah, for each party. So, okay. Labour has 29 councils now, which is down 4. And they have 748 councillors in total, which is down 173.
Wow.
And not all of these have gone to the Conservatives. The Conservatives have picked up 161, bringing their number of councillors up to 1,053. But it seems like a lot of them have gone to the Greens. They've gained 35 councillors. Independents have gained 4. The Residents Association has gained 7.
Never heard of them.
Beyond that, most others are losses. Liberal Democrats are down 18. Reform UK are up 2.
Liberal Democrats pride themselves on having a real local strategy as well, don't they? They always put a lot of energy and money into local elections.
Though I am wondering when we can get the Advertising Standards Agency on the Liberal Democrats for them being neither liberal nor democratic.
Yes.
Surely that's just false advertising at this point.
Yeah. They do it on a local level as well. On in my area in Woking, there's this candidate in Woking who's a Liberal Democrat, right? And I saw he did like a video promotion on Facebook, and he basically said, I work in management or consulting on one of these bullshit occupations. And he basically said that I like to get rid of the idea of these false dichotomies. There's this idea in Woking that we either need to build up or build out. This is a false dichotomy. And then he goes on to not explain why it's a false dichotomy at all. He just says, it's a false idea. So what is your solution then? What is your solution?
I think this is just sort of a lot of the problem Labour is facing, in that they are not opposing the government somehow, but are opposing the government in the sense they're saying the government is corrupt. But they're not opposing any policies. And not actually putting forward policies either.
No.
And you can't define a party solely by opposition. We found that out with UKIP very strongly. Because UKIP, beyond opposing the EU, was very disparate in its ideas. And I think the same is happening with Labour. Other than just being not conservatives, it's all over the place. And I'm not sure how they're going to come back from this.
No, I'm actually one of the people who believe that it might be curtains for Labour. I can actually envisage them not coming back in any sort of meaningful way again.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I think it is the beginning of the end. I think it's going to take a bit of a while for them to fully. They'll continue to limp on a little bit.
Okay, we have Sean Finch now. He's got 5G apparently, so hopefully he'll be okay. Yes.
Hey, all right. Hey guys.
That's
the only
much better.
problem is these earpods that I've got, they only got 1% left, so I might go mute suddenly. But just tell me, and I'll obviously take them out. But all right, guys, everyone. Yeah, I'm in a pub locally from the Olympia Counting Centre, and it's a freedom pub because they're not too strict on the masks and the social distancing. So I won't say where it is, but we're around there, one of the counting centres anyway. And,
sorry, you in Hartlepool or London?
London. I mean London.
London. Okay, because that's
Yeah,
your local seat, right?
I'm one of the candidates. Yeah, for London Assembly. So I'm there at the moment. We've just finished the counting for today. There's another day of counting tomorrow. So we're going to go back there and later tomorrow and do the whole thing again. And the declaration should be on Sunday. Should be tomorrow. Sorry, in the evening in City Hall, the London Assembly itself. And yeah, and then we'll see who's elected and whatever. But thanks for having me on, by the way. I don't think I've ever met you, Agnam. I think maybe we've met once.
I think we might have done in London on Brexit Day, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But
you actually said to me when you first met me that I look like PJW, and I've been using that as my nickname ever since.
No, I said, I swear you're his little brother.
Yeah, young PJW.
Yeah, but we're in the pub at the moment. It's not just Heritage Party people. There's also Piers Corbyn's contingent as well. Mm-hmm. So we're sort of just like having a good laugh or whatever, just jamming behind us. So. But Claire Martin is the one you need to talk to for Hartlepool because obviously she had a fantastic result. She's come fourth. She's beaten the Lib Dems, the Greens, and the Reform Party. So yeah, do you know what I mean? Obviously, you probably know by now, Conservatives have obviously taken a seat, and I think that pretty much. I mean, I think the Labour Party's pretty much finished now. Unless they do something really incredible, get some sort of amazing leader. But I can't see anyone that can take that mantle. Really, I think they're pretty much a dying party now. So someone has to fit in. Go on.
I think that might actually be a little bit of a problem beyond Labour as well. There doesn't seem to be many up-and-coming politicians. If you look back 30 years ago, there was this whole host of politicians that you could name that were all big hitters, and there aren't any.
No. Well, there are big hitters, but they're all kind of like of the wokerati type. So there's not really... in terms of common sense or just liberty, you know what I mean? Like there's no kind of like Tony Benns, nothing like that, Peter Shaw, anything like that. They're just sort of like really regressive kind of people now. So I think the people are sick of it now. I mean, how long? I haven't actually researched it. How long has Hartlepool been Labour? Do you guys know that by chance?
60 odd years.
60 years, right? And they just
became set as a constituency like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing that Claire, first time round, she's the first ever Heritage Party MP candidate, and she's come fourth. That's just incredible. You know what I mean? Like, really like beating the Lib Dems, beating the Greens, beating Reform. And I think at the moment, Reform isn't doing too well in London here either. To be honest with you, Heritage Party isn't doing fantastic either. But I mean, the thing is, any result we gain is a gain. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just because we're new. It's the first time we've done elections. Reform, UKIP. I can't think of other parties now. They're all basically in a decline. So, and we're the only ones that are actually moving up. Like in a sort of incline. It may not be a fantastic result, but at least it's it's a gain. The rest of them, they're I look at the moment. We're all on one. All the sort of anti-woke, anti-lockdown parties are on 1%. I think Lawrence Fox is on 2%, but this isn't for mayor. That's they ain't going to win you. But at the London Assembly, the London wide list, you only need 5% to be elected. So at the moment, last I checked, we were on 1%. So we need obviously 4 more % to actually get David back on the seat. I mean, I know I'm number 2. I mean, honestly, I never really thought I was going to be elected anyway. It was more about getting David at least back on the London Assembly. And it's looking like a bit of an uphill battle, but we'll have to take that. But like I said to David, this is only chapter 1. We're not ending here. This is only chapter 1. It's not the beginning of the end. It's the end of the beginning. So only next year in London, we're going to have all the local elections again, because remember we were meant to have this election last year. So we're meant to have a year gap, of nothing. But I said after this election, let's just not stop campaigning, because we got another 12 months now until the local elections, and we just continue it.
Oh dear.
Now, so I think that. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I'm just saying London's a bit of a regressive kind of city still. So, but what I said, I did predict that outside of London, you're going to see a lot of rise of independent candidates and maybe some third-party candidates. And it looks like that's happening. I mean, one of our candidates in Lincolnshire, I think it's Lincolnshire anyway, she did come last, but like I said, anything's a gain, you know what I mean? But the top 2 candidates who beat Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems, Green were 2 independents. So first and second went to independent candidates because people are absolutely just sick of it, you know what I mean? Like that, they're sick of mostly party politics, and they have no trust in the vote anymore. And what's going on now in London as well, by the way, there's going to be, in my opinion, I predict this as well, there's going to be massive reject papers, reject ballots for the London mayor, because it's been massive confusion with the way that they've done it. How I would have done it, they would have had simply one box, not 2 boxes together, saying 1 and 2, just simply one box, and then you have to write in number 1 and number 2. What people are doing is that because it's on double sides, they're putting a cross for say Piers Corbyn's party for number 1, right? They're putting that, and then David Curtin's on the parallel side. And then they're also putting a cross also in the number 1 box, which means that the ballot is then rejected because they can't determine who was number 1 and who was number 2. And I'm seeing a lot of that. So I got a funny feeling there's going to be massive reject papers, and it's going to be a massive scandal about this because the papers are just too confusing. Because you remember, when most people vote, they're usually on their way to work and they're probably running late. It's like, right, I'm going to run into the ballot, the polling station. They're going to run in, quickly put an X there. They used to just put in an X, just simply an X, and that's it, first past the post way. And they're just going, right, put an X here and then put an X in the other one, not knowing that they've made a mistake. And it's actually going to go into the second box. So I think it should be in the future, there should just be only one box. And then you have to put in literally number 1 and then number 2. And then it's clearly defining what's going on now is, like I said, these double columns. And people are just putting X's in both the number 1 things, number 1 squares. And it's rejecting the ballot. I'm seeing loads of massive rejections. So there's going to be big, I reckon 10% rejection, maybe even more rejection papers. So, I mean, that's going to be a massive scandal what's going on. But maybe at the moment, Sean Bailey might just squeak through and be Sadiq Khan. Because, I mean, Sean Bailey's a terrible candidate anyway, but it's just that people are just so sick of Khan. They're just so sick of him. Like all the people we were meeting, me and David, a lot of Muslim market owners, they're just like, yeah, I'm not voting for him. I don't care if he's Muslim. I'm not voting for him. Like, he's terrible. So I've said if Sadiq does win, he's going to have a massively reduced majority, like massive. He's just going to just beat Sean Bailey, Lawrence Fox only got 2%. I think after this, I think a lot of parties are going to fold. I think Reform's going to fold. I think Reclaim's going to fold. London Real, that's Brian Rose's party. He's only got 1% as well. I think that was. I don't know. That's going to go. I think personally, I don't know. Maybe he will stick around. Who knows? Piers Corbyn and David. I don't know about Piers, but David Curtin at least. That Heritage Party I think it's the only kind of real foundation party. It's got a full manifesto. It's got everything there. And I think it is going to last. And I think, and this, like I said, the London elections are only next year now, like the local councils and all of that. So I said to the Let London Live people, that's Piers Corbyn party. And this is to any other freedom related party out there. I don't care, Freedom Alliance, Brian Rose's party. If I'm wrong and Reclaim and Reform are still about, and UKIP and all that, I don't know. But we should all unite because we can't afford to put candidates in every single, we just don't have enough members to do that. So let's just pull ourselves together, in a loose alliance or whatever, and just say, right, who's the best candidates to put in there? And I've been wanting to do this for years. And I've said this is the only way to go. So hopefully this time next year we'll be sensible and not stupid. Because remember, I'm not trying to bad mouth anyone, but I'm sorry, but David Curtin was the original anti-lockdown candidate. He was the original one, and then everyone just piled on. Then I think it was Brian Rose after that, and then it was Piers Corbyn, and then it was Lawrence Fox. Lawrence Fox did it at the 11th hour when it was safe to talk about lockdown. I don't rate that bloke, sorry. But and I remember this time last year as well, or maybe a little bit before, I remember Nigel Farage and Richard Tice were going on about we need lockdown, we need harsher lockdown. And people don't, people have such short memories, and they don't remember that. So I'm hoping that the real freedom people are going to unite and then we can hopefully win these council seats possibly. Like I said, it's only the end of the beginning. So, so it's only the only way is up in a way. I guess it's, yeah.
It does seem that Heritage seems to be the only party that's actually going to be able to continue to go on long term. A lot of the other parties don't seem to really either have proper backing.
I've I've not seen how like, I mean, I've never a member of UKIP anyway, but like I was in the Libertarian Party before, and again, that's another party that's on its way out as well, in my opinion, because it just a long story, but it's just not the party it says on the tin. But UKIP is pretty much being centralised into Wales, and if Neil Hamilton doesn't win his seat back in the Welsh Assembly, or the Welsh Senate, as it's called now, I can see that party. I mean, I don't know how are they doing in Wales. Does anyone know? Well,
I am just going to check the Welsh results now. But
are they done? Or are they still counting?
Do you want to tell your little story about how you got to meet David Curtin and run for Heritage?
Yeah, I was just saying it to the Piers Corbyn people. Funny enough, it basically me and David, we actually stood against each other in a by-election. I was in the Libertarian Party at the time, and he was in UKIP. And then how we met was we just happened to be standing next to each other while this vicious mob outside the Salvation Army Centre in Catford, they call, you know, it's amazing. They call themselves anti-fascists or stand up against racism, and they're the total opposite. You know, I mean, they're using fascistic sort of methods and behaviour. They were spitting at people. One person was arrested for spitting at someone. Members, whether it be candidates or members of the public, and me and David had to pretty much fight our way in. I'm not joking. We had to barge our way through all these people because I wasn't having it and David weren't having it, and we just barged our way through. And then we managed to get in. The few people that did get in, David gave a fantastic speech, and he got interrupted by a white woman calling him racist. You know, so there's always sensible stuff for these people. And then I gave a speech. I had a speech prepared, but I just gave one off the cuff. You know, like about that. It's disgraceful that, you know, I mean, there were protests, and not David and I. They were protesting Anne-Marie Waters for the leader of For Britain. Anne-Marie didn't even show up, but yet they still decided to riot. So the real reason, let's be honest, they didn't give a damn about Anne-Marie. It's just because their Labour candidate was so weak and so useless that they were worried that if she did speak or said, "Well, we were bad mouth her," people wouldn't vote for her. That was the real reason. Was stand up to racism. That's the group call. You know, they use all these nice names, but they're the real racists. They're the real fascists. You know, they're the real sort of control freaks. Their president is Diane Abbott, you know, and you look at their officers, you know, their official officers. They're all Labour people, like Labour MPs, Labour councillors, and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, they sent their brown shirts essentially to shut down the hustings. Never got picked up by the mainstream media. We had to, thank God, rely on alternative media people. You know, that's why they hate you guys. That's why they hate alternative media. Because we're the ones actually, you know, I've got a channel too called Delivering Liberty. You know, funny enough, I did a documentary about that whole 2018 only a few months ago. So I'm going to hear me shit in my channel. You know, so if you want to check that out, it's on Delivering Liberty. And it's about, I don't know, it's a few months down. Scroll it down, you'll find a video. And it's called something like When Good People Are Brainwashed. It's called something like that. I can't remember what I called it now. And they were convinced that, you know, they were frothing at the mouth. And we had to fight our way out there now. Because after I gave a speech about how, you know, I don't agree with everything Anne-Marie Waters has to say, but she has every right to be here. Almost like comedic timing. And soon after, the police inspector walks in and says, "Yeah, we got to close down the hustings because all these lot are going crazy outside." So then I said, because I was born and raised in Lewisham, I said, one of my things falling up. I said, I said to everyone else, I said, well, there's a pub around the corner. I know this area very well. Let's go there and continue the hustings. That's what we did. Only me, you know, my lot, Libertarian Party lot, UKIP, Monster Raving Loony Party, and Democrats and Veterans. And we had a fantastic night. I wasn't into filming back then or anything. We had one too many drinks, but it was a great night. So that's how I got to know David. Didn't know who he was, and then I publicly resigned from the Libertarian Party due to some nonsense, and half the national committee resigned too because of this, and that's why the party's pretty much a dead party now. And then David must have saw it because we're friends on Facebook, and he called me up and said, "Look, Sean, I'm running for mayor. Do you want to be my campaign assistant? You know, and try and win?" I went, "Yeah, you're a lovely guy. Yeah, let's do it." So I'm free agent pretty much. And then it got to this weird thing because I was already running as an independent candidate for London Assembly, and he was running obviously for mayor and the London Assembly. And then he just went to me, "Sean, this is a bit weird. You're running my campaign and your own campaign. Why don't you just join my party and be number two?" And I just went, "Oh, whatever, fine then, yeah." But I agree with most of what David says anyway. Like 75% of the manifesto, I agree with. You know, you only need to agree with about 55% of the manifesto to actually join a party. You'll never agree 100% of any manifesto unless you write it. That's why David agrees with it, because he wrote the manifesto. So, you know, it's good enough. There's some bits I do disagree with on it, but it's still I think, a great manifesto. You know, and I think it's just basically maybe me being subjective here, but I just think it's common sense. You know, I think it's a common sense manifesto. I think it makes sense. But to dare talk about traditional family values or anything like that, and you know, conserving, or you know, what are the Conservatives actually doing? They're not conserving anything apart from their own power. You know, so
Blairism.
I think, yeah, I've always said that what the problem is with the government party and the opposition party at the moment is that you essentially have two new Labour parties in the Commons. You have the Conservative Party, and then you have Keir Starmer's party, which they're both new Labour parties. You know, they're trying to catch a lightning in the bottle again with what Tony Blair did in the late 90s, and it's just like, but people don't want that. They don't like Tony Blair, like, you know, but they're trying to live that model again. So they don't understand this. That's why, and I don't rate Conservatives now either, because like they're only ever 2 years behind the Labour Party. So whatever crap Labour's talking now, in 2 years' time, Conservatives will be saying it as well. So that's why I say don't vote for the lesser evil, because you're going to get evil anyway. Like, you know, it might be like, oh, anything's better than Khan, but do you honestly think Sean Benny's going to be really anything better? Like, keeping in mind, like, Boris Johnson as mayor, he introduced the ULEZ, you know, and now he's signed off on this green agenda on a national platform. So do you honestly think Sean Benny's going to defy Boris Johnson? You know what I mean? Come on, people, man. Like, yeah, he's wet. He's too weak. You know what I mean, to do that. He's just to do as I say. You know, following orders, sort of like Tory. You know, you got the champagne socialists. These lot are prosecco Tories. You know what I mean? Like, there's no real difference to it. So that's what I say anyway. But that's why I hope David doesn't get too dismayed by the results. You know, if he doesn't get him back as at least assembly member. Because I think this is just chapter one. I think we just need to continue, just push on, and hopefully, like, we'll get some council seats next year. Hopefully,
I think one of the best things that Heritage Party has going for it, especially over Reform and Reclaim as well, actually, is that whilst David Gunn's quite a big figure, it's not becoming a cult of personality around him. Whereas Reform and before Brexit,
he doesn't want that either.
No, exactly. But before, UKIP was definitely a cult of personality for Farage, and you can see Reclaim becoming the same thing for Lawrence Fox. And it's nice to actually have a party that, yes, it's still got a powerful name behind it, but it's not solely reliant on him.
Yeah, I know. We do need to build that brand, though, still, of the Heritage Party, because I think a lot of people, they knew who David Curtin was, but they didn't know who the Heritage Party was. You know, we need, like, I think at the moment, though, unfortunately, I think, like, just slightly maybe just push back on what you said, you know, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. You know, it's like I think David Curtin is still bigger than the party. You know what I mean? Like, and I think we need to work on that brand a bit more, because when people were voting for the Heritage Party on the list, they perhaps didn't realise. I know it's weird, but like, I know the Heritage Party label emblem is next to David when you vote, but remember, like, when most people vote, they're usually doing it before they go to work. Yeah. And they're in a rush and they don't put two and two together. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of these ballots are going to be like messed up, because people they're just so used to doing first past the post, put simply X in this one and then run out the door. And now they've got to actually like stop and actually look and read what the instructions. But I don't know. But I think there's going to be a lot of that. But I'm hoping we're going to build the brand a bit more and just go on there. But outside, like I said, outside of London, though, I think it's going to be. Yeah, there's a rise of maybe some third party. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment.
We have the Wellshed update, Adnan.
Yes.
Looking for it earlier.
So for UKIP in particular, we don't have enough results in terms of seats, but in terms of votes so far, they have just over 8,000 votes, which is a 12% change down.
Oh dear.
But there are still a lot of seats still to be declared, so there's about half the seats still to.
So it's pretty much like I said, he's losing his seat.
Yeah,
because UKIP. I mean, again, I'm not a UKIP. I'm never a UKIP member, but from what I observed, it seems like they concentrated all of their power into Wales, and it's just not paid off. I think it's the problem with UKIP was that I think personally that it was always known as that get out of the EU party, and then once, I think we got screwed over really personally, but like once it was done, I use that in quotes. Once it was done, it was just no longer seen as. I know it had all other policies and stuff, but everyone just saw that party as it's just the anti-EU party, and no matter how much branding they did, they just couldn't get away from that. So I think most average people just think, oh, it's just a party of the past. You know what I mean? Like it's an old relic now. And I think that's why you need to, like, Reform have tried to obviously rebrand, but I think they all know, everyone just still calls it pretty much the Brexit party. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think it's just going to work out. I think
I saw the press conference for Reform UK with Richard Tice, and all he argued for was reducing tax and reducing regulation, and that was literally all he had to say. So it's not surprising to me that Reform have just totally tanked. As soon as Nigel Farage went, they were gone. But I do still have a bit of a romanticism about at least the former UKIP members, because there are a lot of great ex-UKIP members.
Yeah, there are.
I would like to see more of them move to Heritage, because I would say to these people, if you look at the Hartlepool result, Heritage is the proper alternative to the Tories in these kind of seats, and it shows the fact that Clare got 4th place, which is higher than Reform, higher than what other ones were standing. SDP, the Monster Raven Looney Party got more than the SDP, you know. So
I do believe we actually have the Lincolnshire Heritage candidate in the chat. If you wanted to try and get her on.
Oh, great! Yeah,
definitely.
Does that mean I get back? Does that mean I get back to my pint then?
Yeah, go on.
Go
for it.
If you get Claire Ring first, I'll wish her congratulations, and then I'll duck out then.
Oh no, we tried getting her in already, but for some reason her camera won't give her access to the microphone and the camera. I don't know why.
Oh, that's because I had the same issue as well on a previous one. She's got to set her browser to accept the mic and the go into settings to her browser and set the mic and camera on. Like, she's probably got a privacy browser like Brave. That's probably the reason why it's not doing it. So I had that as well.
It's working on mine on Brave, but you do have to set it up right.
Okay, we'll look into that.
I don't know, but yeah, but that's the thing at the moment. Got still another day of counting. It'll probably be done by tomorrow afternoon. Everything. I'm really, really hoping that somehow we're going to get another 4%, so they can get back on the London Assembly. But at the moment, it's not looking that way. But we'll see. I don't know. Maybe, you never know. And maybe, I couldn't care about either one really. I think it's gonna be terrible either way, really. But maybe Sean Bailey might squeak in as well. I don't know. We'll see. So, but that doesn't mean I'm endorsing him, right? I still don't vote Tory, don't vote Labour. They're both terrible, all right? They're both big state sort of parties, all right? So don't bother. They're just taking away your liberties, right? So there you go. But anyway,
all right.
I think I'm gonna shop out now. Because this has only got 1% left, and I'm trying to get out before I go mute suddenly. But yeah, all right. But thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for having me on. I'll come on. I'll come on in the future when I'm not under the cosh, yeah. And all this noise. Right.
Yeah.
Take care, bro. See you later. Bye.
See you later.
We did have someone in the chat asking about the Police and Crime Commissioner results so far. In the UK, only 7 have been declared out of 35. 6 of those have gone to the Conservatives. There's a couple that were retaining seats as Conservative, but most are switching from Independent, it seems. Or Labour. Cleveland has gone from Labour to Conservative. Avon and Somerset has gone from Independent to Conservative. Dorset has gone from Independent to Conservative.
Interesting.
Northumbria has stayed Labour, and Staffordshire has stayed Conservative.
Okay, so we haven't had any moves from Conservative to Labour at all, have we?
Not massively, no. Actually, no, there was one, I believe. Let me find it. Yeah, Cleveland went from Labour to Conservative for police and crime commissioner. In terms of the mayoral results in the UK, we've only had a couple in, 3 areas declared. Labour have kept Doncaster and Liverpool, somewhat unsurprisingly, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas Tees Valley has stayed Conservative.
Okay. Did we have someone in the chat who would possibly come on, did you say?
Yes. Rebecca Rann, the Lincolnshire Heritage Party candidate.
Right. Let's see if I can get in touch with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't got my results in because otherwise I would have heard about it by now. I'm still waiting to find out if I've won or not.
Results pending for Woking Borough Council still.
Yeah, but my chairman's actually at the count, so
fair enough.
Yeah, he's updating us.
What else has changed? Let's have a quick refresh, see if we've got any other updates. 72 out of 143 councils in England have been declared. And Labour are down 4 councils. Conservatives are up 8. UKIP is still down 17 councillors, which is never going to stop entertaining me. The Greens are up 35.
The Greens?
Yeah, the Greens are up 35 councillors.
I was listening to the Spectator podcast earlier, and they were talking about how the Greens are actually starting to replace some of Labour and the Lib Dem vote.
Yeah.
Which is,
I think the Greens are a lot closer to what Labour was than Labour is. That said, there is still, I think, a large wokish movement in the Green Party.
I'm just trying to find Rebecca Ann on Facebook. I can find... You're not known as Rebecca Robb on Facebook, are you? Rebecca Ann.
Yeah, don't accidentally dox her. See if we can find a way to... If you can send the channel a message, Damien should be able to see that.
Yeah, basically, I need to get a private link sent to you. So usually we do it on Facebook. So if you can reach out to me with a message on Facebook, then I'll be able to give you the link to join.
SNP wins the seat of former Scottish Tory leader.
Douglas Ross.
I'm trying to find the details of it, but it doesn't. I can't find the details somehow, for some reason, because BBC doesn't like me.
I've got her. Okay.
Excellent.
That sounds a bit creepy. If anyone can see that comment live on the screen, I don't know how to get rid of that.
Can you deselect it? Can you click it again? No,
I can't seem to. Technical problems.
Well, there's got to be a way to do it.
No, it ain't happening. But I've sent her an invite to join, so let's see if we can get Rebecca on.
Looking at results for the Scottish Parliament, the SNP are up 3 at the moment. Yeah,
I've heard that they are on course. I know there's still a lot to be announced, but to just be 1 shy of a majority.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good thing, really. Obviously, we don't want the SNP to have a majority.
Liberal Democrats have 4 seats, Conservatives have 3.
Okay. So is there any losses in Scotland for the Tories, or?
Yes, they're down 2 seats so far.
They're down 2
seats. Again,
seats.
we don't have all the results. I think a lot of them aren't coming out till tomorrow now.
Right. Okay.
Let's see. Starmer has stated that Labour has lost the trust of the working people. It's nice of them to finally notice.
But these seats which the Tories have lost in Scotland, they're not going to the SNP, are they?
I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find the exact details of them.
I figured out how to get rid of the comment. Hallelujah.
Constituency and region results. Right. Yeah, so far the Conservatives have lost 2, but I can't find which 2. Changes. Here we go. Right. Okay, Edinburgh Central has gone from Conservative to SNP.
Okay.
And so has Ayr.
Okay.
They're the only ones that have chatted, apart from East Lothian going from Labour to SNP.
Right, okay. I would have thought that the SNP would have been on course for a majority.
It looks like they might be. 46 seats declared, and they've got 38 of them so far.
Right, okay. But Nicola Sturgeon has already pointed out that she doesn't want to do a flash referendum just off the cuff. So she's not going to try and push for that at this point in time. But it does raise the question. This is the biggest issue for Boris Johnson now, is can he keep a hold of Scotland and build some support there for the Tories? Because at the moment, it's not looking good whatsoever.
Well, the thing is, no matter how Scotland votes, that does not give the SNP a mandate for a referendum, because the decision for a referendum comes from Westminster. And furthermore, we know the EU's not going to accept them, because that would open up a whole can of worms with Catalonia. And the EU's not going to start that one.
Yeah.
So we don't really know how things are going to turn out there. And I can't see Scotland realistically fully leaving.
I mean, we had Alex Salmond set up his own party as well, Alba.
Yes, which is doing incredibly badly.
So that's just a total
pretty much
loss then.
It's sort of dead in the water.
Because they did actually have at least 1 or 2 MSPs join from the SNP, I think.
That wouldn't surprise me. There was a lot of people who have tried to stick with Salmond. But, let's have a look. Well, both our local councils have stayed Conservative.
What do you mean, You mean Woking for me?
No, Surrey.
Oh, Surrey. Okay.
And Kent for me. Have both stayed Conservative.
Okay.
Beyond that, Essex has stayed Conservative. In fact, a lot of things have stayed Conservative. Somewhat unsurprisingly, really. Can I set this? No, I can't set it to see changes, which is disappointing.
My results are still pending for Woking.
Reform have gained 2 councillors. The Independents have gained 5.
5 councillors, or?
Yeah, so they now have 105.
Right, okay.
Which, again, I think this is something we're going to start seeing. As Sean rightly pointed out, we're going to start seeing a lot of a move away from the major parties to more independents and smaller parties such as Heritage.
I hope so. I mean, I hope that it's the case that Labour just disappear into oblivion and a real alternative to the Tories comes from wherever it comes from.
I think the big problem, as much as entertaining as it is to watch Labour implode like this, it is, I think, a bad thing overall.
Because you believe that you need a strong opposition party.
Yes, you need a strong opposition to have a strong government. Because the government must be held to account. Now, unfortunately, Labour isn't doing that.
Wow, so we've had 148 losses of councillors for Labour, and
172 now.
100. Okay, so I'm looking at the Guardian. I don't know what you're looking at.
BBC.
BBC. Okay, and I've got 162 gain for the Conservatives.
It's only saying 159 so far. So I think both might be a little bit waiting on information there.
So the Conservatives have gained in Basildon, Cornwall, Dudley, Harlow, Maidstone, Northumberland, Nottinghamshire, Nuneaton and Bedworth, Pendle. A lot of these places are very working class places, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. And again, I think this comes down to Labour just abandoning the working class and seeming to treat the working class with contempt. I don't think they're doing it intentionally, because I genuinely think the Ash Sarkars and Owen Joneses of the world think they are working class.
We've got Rebecca now. Shall we add Rebecca in?
Go for it.
Hello, Rebecca.
Sorry, my laptop was being slow.
That's okay. You're a candidate in the election, aren't you?
Yeah.
So where were you standing in the election?
I was standing in Louth, in Lincolnshire, in the Louth South Division, so I'm just adjusting my laptop.
Have you had your results come in yet?
Yes. I came last at 98 votes.
Oh, maybe we shouldn't have announced that so suddenly.
But I was standing against two independents, Labour and Conservative. So
what kind of an area is it where you live? Is it more sort of middle working class type area?
Yeah, it's working class.
Okay.
Yeah, middle working class.
Well, it seems like we got a
trying to find the actual results on BBC, if we can.
Sorry, what's that, Adnam?
I said I'm just trying to find the actual results on BBC there.
What did you make of the Hartlepool result, Rebecca?
I thought it was brilliant. It's a good start. Obviously, the party, it's not even a year old yet. And already she's 4th place, and hopefully at the next elections we can improve on that, get the name out there, build up on membership in our counties, and hopefully now people have seen, somebody can come forth from a small party at the moment. They might be more likely to vote. And hopefully more people will know what David Curtin's about, what the manifesto is about. It's been really difficult. It's a lot of footwork to do leafleting and canvassing on top. We delivered, I think it was 4,000 leaflets on foot.
Wow.
And then you've got to canvass as well. And I sort of joined last minute. So I became a member, I think it was at the end of December. And then I got an email asking if I'd like to be a candidate. I think it was at the start of February. So it was a bit of, I think all of us were in the same boat, really. It was sort of quite last minute, and we just did our best, really.
Yeah, that was pretty much the same with me. I joined not that long ago, maybe, what was it, a couple of months ago now? 2-3 months ago. And yeah, my chairman, Tim Reed's brilliant. He used to be with UKIP like me, and he just said, do you want to stand in these two positions? And I just said, yeah, let's go for it. I didn't do much. I actually didn't bother leafleting my area. I leafleted a couple other candidates' areas, which were more likely to gain more than my area. My area is a bit too, a bit too middle class and cushy for them to vote Heritage Party. I think it's too solidly Tory at this point, but who knows, maybe in the future.
How did you get on during your time in UKIP? For me, this is my first time being a member of an actual party.
Is it really?
Yeah.
How should we describe that?
Well, it's funny because I joined UKIP in 2016. When did you join UKIP?
About the same.
About the same, right?
How many times did you get suspended?
Once. I actually got suspended by the Tories as well, which I haven't revealed the insides to that, but that's quite an interesting one as well.
Dear.
But yeah, UKIP was great because it was just a mad mix of conservatives and libertarians. And when I say conservatives, I mean proper conservatives, not the fake ones.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just a lot of eclectic, eccentric characters, I would say, wouldn't you, Adnan?
Yes, I mean, certainly it was an experience. In fact, it was quite good in terms of actually getting to meet a lot. It opened your mind a lot as well because it was this very ragtag mix. And it was quite nice to see this small movement because you can see a lot of it is going to propagate further, not necessarily in one party, but all across the political sphere in the UK.
But the problem with UKIP was it didn't have a solid foundation, and there were too many people trying to pull it in different directions.
Yeah.
And that ended up being the demise of UKIP. But I feel that David Curtin's got a much more solid vision for Heritage Party. I don't see it splitting in different directions like UKIP did. I'd say Heritage is very much a conservative party, but it's also very libertarian as well. I'd say it's probably slightly more conservative than UKIP, actually, because it actually says that we do have a foundation in this country of Christianity and things like that we need to respect our past and things. So the thing which won me over to Heritage Party more than anything was the manifesto, even though it wasn't very specific in its Adnan mentioned before certain policies. It was basically setting the agenda of what it was trying to achieve, and I'm pretty much Sean says he agrees with 75% of it. I actually agree with 100% of it.
Yeah, so do I. I'm actually a Christian myself, so the manifesto for me was what won me over as well. Because none of the other parties actually respect Christianity at all. So I was never going to become a member of them. I was a UKIP voter. My first vote was actually for UKIP when I was old enough to vote. But no party was actually worth me becoming a member of. Not until Heritage Party came along. I thought it was fantastic. At first, I just became a member. I wanted to support it because it was supporting Christians. And then it just sort of built up from there. And all of a sudden, I was standing in an election, and I've never really got into politics before. But it's been a good experience there. I'm looking forward to standing in the next elections. And my husband, he wants to stand in the next elections as well. This is the first time he's actually bothered to vote as well. He would never vote before, and I'd always tell him, your vote does count. And now he does actually realise from this experience supporting me. He was my agent as well. And he did a lot of leafleting and talking to people for me. And he was out. I did the polling stations through the day, and then he did evening and night. So there was always somebody around that was standing for the Heritage Party. And we actually found that we were the only ones, apart from one independent, that was actually going around the polling stations. No one else bothered.
Brilliant.
There is a lot to be said there, that a lot of people have just become disillusioned with politics, myself included. It's the main reason I haven't actually taken the push to actually join the Heritage Party yet. Because whilst I agree with it, I'm that disillusioned with political parties as a whole. That said, given the results and how things are going forth with these elections, it might be what pushes me to actually finally join. Yeah. It's not a matter of not agreeing, it's a matter of just, to me, politics is the parties themselves, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
The thing for me is I don't see Heritage Party taking over the country anytime soon, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just giving the voters the opportunity to vote for an actually conservative party, an actually libertarian party. And so that's the important thing at this point. And I do actually like to compare it to UKIP in the sense that UKIP was founded in like the 90s, wasn't it? Like the early 90s.
Yeah, if not slightly earlier, I think.
Yeah. So UKIP was a long time in the making before they got to the 4 million votes, which unfortunately only got them, well, 1 or 2 seats.
If
in fact, not even that. That was Tory switching, wasn't it?
I'd actually compare Heritage Party to early Labour at this point, because you must remember how long it took Labour to actually become a political force. It was a very, very small party back in the turn of the century. Obviously, I'm not comparing on policies at all, but in terms of
I'll tell you what, Labour back in 1945 or whatever was actually probably pretty conservative by today's standards.
Yeah. It's completely changed. It's just been, we've had a lot of problems with the Labour Party. You've probably seen some things that we're putting on Telegram, but the Conservatives, they've been fine. The Independents, they've been fine. We've been completely attacked. And I do some outreach work for my church, and we was delivering Easter eggs on Easter Sunday, and they basically slammed me all over social media saying I was breaking election regulations because I was bribing people with votes. Bearing in mind, children can't vote. And it was crazy. And I actually spoke to I don't like bitterness and I don't like confrontation. So I actually called. He was a Labour councillor. He was involved in it, and actually called him, explained the situation. I said, I haven't broken the law. I haven't broken regulations. This is what happened. I've got screenshots between me and the pastor. It was all to do with church, nothing to do with politics at all. And even after that, he refused to take his slanderous post down that he made about me and the party. But I thought we sort of called a truce of everything. I said, look, I want to play this clean. It's all fair game. I don't want to be tearing each other down and having slanging matches over social media. And then it just kept spiraling. I've actually had to put a camera up outside my house because there's an ex-Labour chairman who's part of Antifa who actually hides in people's bushes and taps on windows to frighten them. He's done that to a councillor who was independent, is now gone Heritage. You probably know about him. He's ex-Labour. I think he was in Labour for about a year, and he realised that Labour is not Labour really. It didn't represent what he believed in. There's a lot of anti-Semitism. He tried to drive the far left out of Labour and tried to get back to how it was in the beginning, but it was just fighting a losing battle. So he went independent. They wasn't pleased about that because it is like a cult. You're not allowed to leave. If you do, they basically ruin your life. And then he went obviously from a far left party to like another party that's actually normal, has normal values, and it was a shock to the system for them. And I got caught up in that as well. So they probably think that I've radicalized them or something because they think we're far right. So it's just honestly been crazy. And every day they would post something on social media. It would either be about me or it would be about him. And just complete lies.
You see a lot, though, that especially the more extreme sides of Labour, but even it seems to be the more mainstream part of Labour as well, seems to be focused more on attacking the individuals rather than actually having a political discussion, because they view their political ideas as actively superior, and because they view themselves as progressives, it is progress. So anything that isn't there is not a step forward and therefore must be a step backwards. And they seem to think society has this single forward marching motion, which personally I find is patently ridiculous. But it is what allows them, I think, to look down on their opposition and think they're not worth engaging. The constant denigration of the working class, of people voting for working class people voting for Tories are absolute idiots. No, they just disagree with you. And it's how do you think we can actually combat that without stooping down to their level?
I think the best thing to do really is to not engage with them, and they do try to trap you into having an argument with them, so then they can slate you and they can screenshot what you've said and say, you know, this person's this, that, and the other, they're nasty or whatever. The best thing that I did was just stop engaging with it. I'd happily debate anybody, but there's no debating with these far left people. Not everybody in Labour's like that. I know some great Labour councillors, but they've been in it for years, and they're for like old school Labour. It's not every Labour member or councillor is like that, but there is quite a lot of them, and you can't have a debate with them or any form of discussion.
I think it is also fair to say that it's also not the whole of the more extreme side of Labour as well. So I've got a couple of friends that are quite far left, and we can have perfectly actually civil discussions and disagreements without resulting to this baseless so forth. That I appreciate, yes, a lot of it is Twitter, and Twitter is never representative of humanity, let alone anything else. But it seems to control the mainstream narrative a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is actually indicative of the everyday person. I think a lot of people on both sides now sort of kind of come up with this straw man idea of what their opposition is.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the right, it's the idea of this screeching activist that's just shouting free and crying because Trump got elected.
Yeah.
Or on the other side, it's everyone's a literal fascist and wants to subjugate everyone who's not white.
Yeah.
There is no one is, or very few people are actually like either of those. But there seems to be this idea that that's what we're fighting on that side and that's what we're fighting on that side, which is stopping anyone from actually trying to find a common ground.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy Corbyn has actually said that Keir Starmer needs to be bolder. So I'm not sure what he means by that. I presume more
maybe having any policies at all. Let's face it, he's as bold as a wet flannel.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I tried finding their manifesto just out of curiosity of what Keir Starmer has to offer, and I can't find one anywhere. I'm not sure if it's just me. Does he actually have a manifesto?
Does anyone actually know any of his policies?
Let me see if I can find the Labour Party manifesto at this point.
The only one I could find was Jeremy Corbyn's.
It seems like he's trying to
There's one
basically...
from 2019, but I can't see one later. You're right.
It seems like he's basically trying to emulate Boris Johnson, but to a more extreme level. So if Boris Johnson does lockdowns, he wants more extreme ones.
Keir Starmer's policy seems to be, let's do what the government did, but with hindsight, let's do it sooner and harder.
Yeah.
Unless if they're spending this amount of money, let's spend twice the amount.
It doesn't matter where we get it from. I think literally the boldest thing Keir Starmer has done is when he spoke to that pub landlord and said, I don't need lectures from you, which firstly is a horrendous way to speak to your constituents.
Yeah.
But,
was that the one where he basically told him to F off out of his pub?
Yeah.
Right, okay, I've seen that, yeah. I didn't know that happened beforehand, though.
Yes, outside. They started out as a relatively civil discussion about lockdowns. And then Keir Starmer goes on about because his wife works in the NHS. So I don't need lectures from you.
Mm. Oh, that's brilliant. See, I thought he was just kicking him out because he didn't like Labour. So obviously not.
No, there was a bit before it.
So do we have any updates on the elections? I'm looking at the moment. I can see that the Conservatives have actually gained 3 in Wales.
Wales only has 38 out of 60 seats called so far, but England has 74 out of 143 councils, and Scotland has 47 out of 129 seats called. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at. You said mention Wales. Let's see what Wales is doing. This will load. Come on. Right. Welsh Labour seems to be holding its ground so far. Hasn't gained or lost any seats. It's still at 25. Conservative have gains of 2 so far, though.
Okay, so it's given me 3 on the Guardian. Maybe I shouldn't rely on the Guardian so much.
I don't think anyone should ever rely on the Guardian. Plaid Cymru are down 1, curiously.
Okay, well that's Welsh nationalism out the window.
Yep. Liberal Democrats are down 1 as well. And we're
Okay,
talking about 46% turnout so far.
I can see Labour. Oh no, they've got 2 seats apparently at the moment. Labour, yeah, Edinburgh Southern and Dumbarton. But apart from that,
you're talking Scotland then?
Scotland. Sorry, did I not mention
I was
that?
talking Wales.
Okay, yes, Scotland is, well, the whole of the north of Scotland looks to be SNP, but you got 2 for Labour,
4 for Liberal Democrats,
4 for Liberal Democrat, yeah,
3
and we've got
Conservative.
82 on undeclared, yeah, 3
But
Conservative.
the 3 that have changed from Conservative and Labour to SNP.
Right, okay, so it looks like Nicola Sturgeon could be on course for a majority there.
Quite possibly. I think Queen Sturgeon's going to continue and have her reign, as it were.
Fabulous.
How would you feel if Scotland actually left the Union?
Well, it means we can rebuild Hadrian's Wall. I think the biggest downside I can see from it is that whiskey's going to cost more.
Of course, that's your main concern as a
Scotland doesn't have much in the way of that. They have a fair amount in terms of oil fields and fishing, but bear in mind that there's a lot that is going to be negotiated on that. We'd have to move Trident. Okay. Not really that much of a problem. We can move it.
Well,
That's the entire point of Trident, really. Other than that, there's not much. Scotland has an incredibly low population. Incredibly low population density is economically quite limited. That's not to say it's not worth anything. Far from it. You know, it has a large tourism industry that benefits the UK greatly. But,
well, we have to say that we have had a long history with Scotland, and they do add a nice bit of culture to our United Kingdom also.
Yes, definitely. I always say that I'm not English, I'm British, or British first at least, because it's not just the English cultural identity. There is a whole cultural identity across these isles that is composed of things. You know, my family doesn't come from anywhere further north than the Thames, but I still consider myself British as a whole.
Yeah, I would say I feel the same way. And there are people arguing for some sort of English nationalism and to try to politicise that. But I personally don't see that as a very viable.
Again, movement. I think that's more of a response, though, because Irish nationalism hasn't been criticised. I mean, aside from the Troubles, but Welsh nationalism hasn't been criticised. Scottish nationalism hasn't been criticised, but English nationalism does get criticised. And yes, there has been a low overlap with unsavoury activities from certain groups and so forth with English nationalism. But there is also the point that now every other part of the British Isles has some sort of devolved parliament or leadership, and England doesn't. And I'm actually quite for devolution because more local government seems like a better thing to me.
Yeah, I've always been in favour of a federal system, basically.
Yeah. That was actually one of my big gripes with UKIP, that they were very anti-devolution. And I never understood.
They wanted to abolish the Welsh Assembly, didn't they?
I can understand abolishing and replacing each with something a bit more equal, but England, I think, does need a devolved parliament, so it is not ruled directly by Westminster. London could be like Washington, D.C. is in America, where it's not a state per se, it's its own district and rules out of there separately, whilst everywhere else has its regional or local government. I think that's a much better system.
I'm trying to look at some of the smaller parties across the board here, and I can't see any for UKIP. I can't see anything. Did Reform stood council candidates, didn't they?
Yes, they have gained 2.
They've gained 2.
Yes, they've gained 2 councillors. Whereas, like I say, UKIP has lost 17.
Wow.
Have UKIP don't have any at this point?
Not anymore, no. They have absolutely none.
Okay. What about, remember, I think For Britain managed to get 2 seats at one point in the last election, didn't they? Are they anywhere to be seen?
I assume they're listed under other, but
Yeah, probably.
there are 2 councillors for other, but it doesn't say where, because they're just listed under others. If they've changed between 2 of those smaller parties that are classed under that, it's not going to note that there's a change.
I didn't realise For Britain was still a thing, to be fair. I haven't really heard much about them.
I don't think they are a thing anymore. But I remember clearly that in one of the last elections, they did actually manage to get 1 or 2 seats. So I was just curious as to if they retained either of them.
Yeah.
But if they haven't, I would say that would be the end of them as well as UKIP. I know there's people I have known in For Britain who are quite unhappy for Anne Marie Waters. I don't exactly know why, but she doesn't seem too popular at the moment.
We're getting some results from the Mayor of London so far. We got vote counts at least. Sadiq Khan is still in the lead with 40.2% of the vote, 437,286 votes. Sean Bailey has 35% of the vote, 380,476 votes.
So that's not too bad for Sean Bailey. I'm surprised.
After that, it drops down to the Greens, with Sean Berry with 8.3%, Liberal Democrats at 3.9%, then an Independent at 1.9%, tied with Lawrence Fox, also at 1.9%.
Sorry, who's tied with Lawrence Fox?
An Independent, Nico Omelana.
Oh, he's the stupid YouTube twat. But
again, this is still early vote counts.
They said he was polling at 5%. That guy, which is pretty unbelievable.
1.9, so Rejoin EU is at 1.1, just ahead of my personal favourite candidate, Count Binface.
Oh, nice.
Count Binface generally has the best manifesto.
What is Count Binface manifesto?
I'm going to find it up because it is genuinely a good manifesto. Let me find it. Is this it? No, that's not it. Far back.
Is he the equivalent to the monster Raven Looney Party?
To an extent, he only he stands independent or for himself as the Count Binface Party.
Did he have a bad split with the monster Raven Looney Party? Did they disagree on important issues?
I don't think so. I think it is
related to bins.
Let's have a look. Why is that not loading? Come on.
So Sky are saying minus 171 now for Labour and plus 170 for Conservative, minus 29 for Lib Dems and plus 34 for the Greens. I mean, if you were looking at that at just a glance, you would say it would look like Conservative. A lot of people have switched from Labour to Conservative and Lib Dem to Green. But as we discussed earlier, you think that's more down to people just not voting Labour?
Yes, definitely. I think that's.
I wonder if the Greens could eventually replace Lib Dems as being the challenger on the left.
I think it's quite possible. Here we go. Count Binface's manifesto. 21 points, which apparently, given we can't find Labour's manifesto, seems to be longer than that. So let's have a bit of fun. Let's go through all these, because I can't find many that I think people would agree on. First point is London Bridge to be renamed after Phoebe Waller. Whether that's going to be Phoebe Waller Bridge or Phoebe Waller Bridge, not decided.
Okay.
Point 2 is Hammersmith Bridge to be repaired and renamed Wayne after the former England international footballer. Croydon to get a facelift, ironically. No shop to be allowed to sell a croissant for more than £1. Free parking between Vine Street and the Strand. HS2 protesters to be allowed to build their tunnel at Euston all the way to Birmingham, to be followed by a second tunnel linking Birmingham to Manchester. Finish Crossrail. At Trafalgar Square, Sir David Attenborough to be placed on the 4th plinth, or a statue of him. Either is fine. Speakerphones on public transport to be banned. Quite like that one. Offenders to be forced to watch the movie version of Cats every day for a year.
Never heard of that.
You don't want to watch Cats. London to join the EU.
You could make an argument for that, I guess.
All government ministers' pay, including the mayor's, to be tied to that of nurses for the next 100 years. Honestly, that's one I quite agree with. I'd actually more go with it should be tied to the national average wage. And they shouldn't be able to vote on it at all beyond that. But, turkeys don't vote for Christmas. Because their wage is currently like 81,000. And then they get the expenses on top of that. And it's absolutely absurd. Loud snacks to be banned from theatres. The Trocadero to be turned back into a truly top-notch video arcade. Let's see what else we got. One day every year, escalators on the underground to be reversed, encouraging travellers to go up the down escalators and down the up ones, as a free gym and gladiator simulator all in one.
Okay.
CFAX to be brought back for all households within the M25. And my personal favourite is the hand dryer and the gents' toilet at the Crown and Treaty Uxbridge to be moved to a much more sensible position.
Yes, fully agree with that one.
Have you been there?
No.
Okay.
Although I do have to say I'm a big fan of the nice Dyson hand dryers. I don't know if you've ever used them.
Yes, they're quite good.
Very, very nice on the hands. Very dry them extremely quickly. And Dyson, who's also a very pro-Brexiteer also.
I find it fascinating that a lot of people seem to think Brexit is very supported by big business, and for the most part it isn't. No,
not at all. But I do love the fact that the three big names we did have was Tim Martin, Wetherspoons, like I said, Dyson, and the owner of JCB as well. JCB Diggers.
I do wish, though, that Tim Martin had actually a bit more of a spine and pushed against the hospitality restrictions still.
Yeah.
But have you not read his Wetherspoons magazine?
Oh, I have. I've read most editions of it. I've met him a couple of times, actually.
A lot of pretty much most of the magazine is just going into a big rant against the government and against the restrictions.
Oh, definitely. But beyond that, that's just performative. If he's just writing about it.
Well, I guess. Although he did have
people that he's laid off, and he's still not open to his pubs, even the ones with gardens, I believe.
I think he did have a legal challenge though against Sage at one point because they were disputing some results to do with Sweden about the effectiveness on lockdowns on pubs.
Well, this is what I was talking about earlier. What the government's responded with by it. And again, there is no evidence the government's provided to keep these restrictions in place. Again, I have another quote here. Reducing limitations on outdoor hospitality, personal care, leisure, and entertainment venues, may affect customers from a range of age groups who rely on certain business services for mental and physical health benefits, resulting in decreased feelings of social isolation. And then nothing. There is no evidence for them to continue to keep pubs closed.
No.
Most pubs can't. People saying, "Oh, it's only a couple more weeks." Well, most pubs can't afford to keep closed for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'm getting this irate about it because I spent my entire career and life in hospitality, and I've had to change careers because of this lockdown.
My husband had to as well. He lost his job. Well, he lost his contract. He was self-employed, and they ended up having no work for him. I was 2 months pregnant at the time, so it was a very difficult time for us. And we didn't have any money for months because they took a really long time to actually sort all these grants out. And eventually found himself another job in September. It has worked out quite well for us because he's more happier in his new job, but it was a really difficult time. We didn't know how we was going to get through, and then a new baby on the way as well. It was really stressful.
The hospitality sector is losing something around the lines of 200 million a day for it being shut. And the government just giving grants out, that's not going to help either, because I think the last grant they gave out was about £3,000. Now, I know a lot of pubs that have chucked away more than that in beer alone. They've just had to get rid of it because the stock's gone off. Never mind, you can't just say, "Oh, you can open tomorrow," because you need to get stock in. Now, a lot of breweries have actually stopped brewing a lot of their major beers. And unlikely that they're going to start building that up for quite a while.
Yeah.
Demand is... But people, again, a lot of the criticism, I think, of people going to the pub seems to come from people who don't go to the pub.
Yeah.
People view pubs as just restaurants. And, to me, and I've spent my entire life and career in hospitality and pubs. A pub is somewhere you can walk in, sit at the bar, talk to people. That's what I like to do in a pub. Not know anyone, talk to the bar staff, just meet new people. I don't want to just sit in a corner, not be able to get up, order from an app. That's not... I went down to my local the other day for lunch, and, I know all the bar staff there. But I can't stop and have a talk with them or so forth, because you're not allowed to get up. You can't wander. You got to order on the app, It's a very little chance. They know what I like in terms of beer. So I walk in and they say, "Oh, we got this new one on. Try this." Well, they can't do that anymore. And similarly, a lot of my friends, I haven't seen in over a year now because we don't have each other's phone numbers. We just knew roughly when we'd been in the pub. I know so-and-so would be in the pub at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday or whatever. We'd just be roughly on the same sort of time. And beyond that, we don't keep in touch. And that... I'm quite young. This is just a normal... But then you look at a lot of people that are quite elderly and isolated. I remember years ago, one of the pubs I was running, that we had a customer who was in his early 90s. He'd been coming in the pub since the Second World War when he was in the Home Guard. And he didn't have any family. I think he had a sister in Canada and a son he was estranged from. So he didn't have anyone. Him getting out, going to the pub every day was his socialising. It was the only people he saw. We had various customers that became friends with him would check up on him at his home and make sure he was all right.
Yeah.
But I don't think he would have survived as long as he did if people hadn't. Now, the amount of people that's going to affect it over the past year, it's absolutely despicable. But hospitality isn't viewed as a serious career at this point. It's viewed as constantly this thing that, young people do just until they get a proper job. Even whilst I've been worked in hospitality, so what are you going to go on to do? When are you going to get a real job? No, this is my career. It was.
And it's the home for most communities, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's where people go and meet.
Traditionally, were held in incredibly high esteem. If you want to get someone to sign off on a shotgun license, you can get a doctor, you can get local police officers. You can also get your local pub landlord. I can sign off on people's shotgun licenses. Genuine. If you have a personal license, you can. Because pubs used to be respected.
Yeah.
And now it's just an industry that's been taken for granted and run into the ground. And I know I'm getting very wound up about this, but I'm just seeing something that I've lived in and loved my entire life just get destroyed. I've seen estimates that 75% of pubs in the UK are not going to be open in 5 years' time.
75%?
Yes, will be closed permanently.
Wow.
1% of pubs in the UK shut last year alone. It's yeah.
I mean, it's really going to hit the fan, so to speak, when the furlough scheme ends, because that's when the costs really start to mount up, and so that's when we're going to really see the damage from this. The furlough scheme doesn't end till like the end of September, does it? So,
and of course, all the pub companies and breweries, well, they're still charging their pub landlords rent. They're not going to just wipe that for the past year. They're still going to have to pay that.
Yeah.
Never mind everything else, all the costs of everything that is going to have gone up. Similarly, it's why I never got this idea of people saying, "Oh, let's cut the beer tax. We'll knock a penny off a pint." Okay, so that's 72p off a barrel. The cost of making a barrel of beer has gone up by £7. So it's not a penny off a pint by any stretch, not on the customer end. I do not see a sensible way to fix this. Pubs are going to have to go smaller or turn into restaurants. Restaurants means higher overheads, which also means they're not going to survive this if you're a restaurant, because it's harder. You got more to keep going. Smaller pubs, I think the micro pubs will keep going if they could have stomached it so far. But most everyday pubs, especially the wet-let pubs, they're the ones that are going to struggle. Everything's struggling, frankly.
The majority of our pubs are small. They don't have like an adequate outdoor area, so they're not able to open. And there'll be no way that they'll be able to turn into a restaurant because they're not big enough. Because, well, it's a small town that I live in, and Lincolnshire's got really nice small villages, nice small towns. There's a lot of historic buildings, and honestly, I'm quite concerned about what's going to be open and what isn't, to be fair. As you say, as the pubs, it is sort of part of our culture, really. It's part of our socialisation, and, you know, it's how you make lots of friends as well. And it brings the community together. You know, just go down to the pub. You can go to the pub on your own, and just make new friends. Exactly. It's brilliant. Because everyone's so friendly, and that's how I've always done. I used to, before I met my husband, I just used to go to pub on my own, just a local pub. I've never really been into like the whole clubbing part. I just preferred going into my local small pub, meeting new people, making friends, and building connections and relationships. And that's how we all get to know each other, and that's how we all get along, and it brings the community together. So it is quite concerning, and it's just going to isolate people even more, as you say. I used to work in a
pub and say, "Oh, I need some electrics done in the next week. Do you know any electricians?" And you're able to point out 3 or 4 people in the pub.
Yeah,
and you're getting a personal recommendation there. It's not just, "Oh, he's an electrician." You said, you know he's good.
My stepdad literally has a trade of all different type in the pub that he can just refer to whenever
there's. Unfortunately, Westminster seems to have this idea of pubs being quasi-restaurants, because that's what Central London has had a lot of it. And I think this issue, this issue has been going on for years. Hospitality has been targeted for the past 30-odd years. And anyone who doesn't think so either has never worked in hospitality or is absolutely blind. Because, I remember...
What is the tax for beer that you get? Because I know there's like a beer tax, isn't there?
Yes, alcohol. Well, it goes up by percentage, I believe. It's absolutely ridiculous. I believe it's one of the highest in Europe. Let me look it up, because I can't remember the figures off the top of my head. But again, I know someone in the chat saying prices have gone up. Well, they're going to go up again, because prices are going to go going up about 10%. It's estimated at the moment.
See, that's. I have to say, this is why I'm probably not your ideal customer, Adnan, because I do like a Wetherspoons most of the time for my pub choice, And it's simply because
there's nothing wrong with Wetherspoons. Wetherspoons have done very well for what they've done. They've created this nice stand. You know what you're getting with Wetherspoons. And they have done a lot to promote the small breweries and beer industry. At the same, and also you got to take into account where the industry was when Wetherspoons started, because Wetherspoons came about after the Monopolies Act. Because before that, pubs tend to be owned by breweries, so you get pretty much every pub in Faversham would be a Shepherd Neame pub. Most pubs in East London would be a Truman's pub, and so forth. There wasn't really any competition. All were stocking the same beer, and so forth. And the Monopolies Act told the breweries they had to get rid of a load. So they did. And either they got... A few went to actually the landlords, which was the idea that the landlords would buy them up. But a lot couldn't afford to. A lot of them went to property companies who managed to get around the Monopolies Act by being property companies that aren't pub chains. A few went to pub chains, and like Wetherspoons, that started up out of that. And then there's nothing wrong with that because they salvaged a lot of those pubs from dying.
But it seems like every other pub I've been to has been so much more expensive than Wetherspoons. So
yes, but that's because Wetherspoons has buying power. What Wetherspoons will do, they'll turn around to a brewer and say, okay, we can guarantee that we're going to buy from you 2,000 barrels a year, but we're going to do it at this price. We will dictate the price to you. Whereas your local pub says, but we want to buy some of your beer, but we'll do what? We'll get 4 of them in. And they'll say, oh, I'll do you a deal if you get 10. Whatever, fine. But that's still not going to be the same deal as you're getting if you're buying 200, 2,000. Guaranteed. Because also, this is where the myth that Wetherspoons put things close to date out. Well, beer's got a quite quick turnaround anyway, but you can, because they buy it in bulk, they can send it all over the country. So they can do that.
Out of curiosity, how much does it cost you to buy a pint where you live? Because I know as you go further down south, it gets more expensive.
It varies. So round by me, North Kent, you're looking around £4 a pint these days for ale. For lager, it can vary to 5. At the same point, I've seen pubs around here that have done £8 a pint.
Wow.
But that's sort of your more I say poncy, but your more artisan sort of hipster stuff. Nothing wrong with them. I quite like them. But
the type of place that serves asparagus.
The most I have ever paid for a pint was in London, unsurprisingly. For 1 pint, £15.
You're joking. I would not pay £15 for a pint.
It was quite strong. It was only in third of a pint, so they're selling it £5 for a third of a pint. And it was that nice that I ended up buying 3, so £15 for a pint.
That's crazy.
Someone's put it's £6.40 in Greenwich for a pale ale.
Again, sounds about right these days. But again, expect that to go up about 10%. Wouldn't surprise me at this point. People said years ago that people won't go to the pubs once it hit £5 a pint. And then it went past £5 a pint and no one batted it. Yeah, the thing is, I remember distinctly.
Someone's just put here. Someone's just put, might as well just buy cocaine at this point.
Who are you buying cocaine in that sheet?
Yeah.
Right. Pint of beer, you get 40p duty on 1 pint of beer, which is 13% of the price. That's just the duty. Total tax as a percentage of price is 30%.
Sorry, it says, say the first one again for me. I want to remember this.
40.7 pence per pint.
Okay. And that's not including the VAT. The VAT's added on top of that, obviously.
No, right? That's including VAT.
Oh, that's including VAT.
I'm sorry, no, that's only including VAT in the total tax bit, not in the duty.
Not in the duty, okay.
So, bear in mind, just for comparison, so there's 40.7% pence duty in a pint of beer. How much duty do you think you pay on a litre of petrol?
I don't know.
I haven't got a clue.
58p.
Right, okay.
We're paying almost the same duty on beer as we are on petrol. Similar. For wine, for a 75 centilitre bottle of wine, it's 208 pence duty. Which again, we're doing percentage duty tax as about 50% at this point, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
How come wine is so much cheaper when you buy it in the supermarket? Do you have to pay more tax if it's in the pub?
Bulk, but also yes, because it gets taxed at multiple stages. The brewers get taxed.
Yeah,
it goes down the line, and also you must remember pubs have higher overheads in general. They're not just selling the beer. You got to have the cooling equipment. You got to keep the lights on. You got to pay staff. That alone is simply, you buy. It works out. So you buy 4 cans of beer for a £5 or whatever, and then a pint for £4 or £5. Now again, that pint's been chilled, kept in the cellar. You've had someone look after it. That's also 72 pints to a firkin. You're getting about 68, 69 good pints out of it. If you go in for laws, it's pressurized, so you can get most out of that. But that's still, you've got to work in volume. It's easier to buy in volume and then set it. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
What do you make of the last 2 comments, Adnam? Don't know if you can see
Real men
them.
drink ale. Yes, they do.
None of that imported fizzy foreign piss or what?
Honestly, I do like a lot of European lagers. If you get a nice German Pilsner or a what do you get from North? A Frankfurter. Well, not Frankfurter. Flensburger. There's some very nice German lagers out there. At the same point, give me a nice pint of proper British ale. And again, not this generic pale ale. Because pale ale is not down to colour, it's down to the hops used. You can get a pale ale that's as dark as Guinness. And everything seems to be labelled as a pale ale these days. It's not. It's normally an APA, not an IPA. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. So someone's put real ales is the new Porsche keyring.
But make sure it's a proper real ale. Support your local small breweries.
Someone else just put, is this an alcoholics chat group?
Yes, it is. It is now. In fact, we're going to be 2 hours and 10 minutes, so maybe we should maybe go on for another 5-10 minutes and then think about wrapping up. I don't think we're going to find too many new results.
Yeah.
I think that's most we're really going to get for the night.
I need to hop off anyway, because I've got to go on another live video.
Oh, okay. No problem. It was good to have you.
It was great to have a little chat with you and learn more about alcohol.
Yeah, we'll talk about alcohol and other things another time, hopefully.
Yeah. But thank you for having me on.
Brilliant. See you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Just checking any updates at the moment. Conservative have gained 161 councillors now.
Okay. What sports are you going on, by the way? Are you still using the BBC?
Yeah. Yeah, still on BBC. 76 out of 143 councils declared. So doesn't seem to be too much different from what we've said so far already.
Yeah. So the results are taking a long time to come in. It looks like this might go well into Saturday.
It wouldn't surprise me. For a lot of them, they're going to. And as Sean pointed out, I think, especially with the mayoral elections, I think he's right, there might be a lot of miscast ballots or spoiled ballots and such. So, yeah. Yes, I do like that comment. Not alcoholics, we're connoisseurs. Very true.
Yeah. I'm not even a big beer drinker at all, to be honest. But
yes, I've noticed every time we've been out to the pub.
But I am slowly warming to it. But I think it's actually ale which I like the most.
The thing is, you can't just say ale because there is just this such wide variety of flavors there.
Oh, of course you're going to say that.
Well, it's true. It's like saying that's like saying I like curry.
You reckon?
Definitely.
Okay.
I could give you a beer that tastes like plums, and I could give you a beer that tastes like banana milkshake.
I almost tried my local one that you recommended me, Hogs back the other
Hogsback,
the other day.
yes. Hogsback
They ended-
Brewery.
Yeah, but I ended up getting a Belgian beer instead, which is actually a wheat-based Belgian beer, which is actually pretty damn tasty.
Belgians aren't bad. Very nice Belgian called Delirium Tremens. You get a chance. That's very strong, but very nice.
Mhm.
If you want alcohol recommendations, I'm your guy.
Apparently, Brit and Alexa aren't even mentioning heritage.
Not even surprised.
Going back to what I was saying a while ago, the smaller parties, we haven't actually had any council gains from any of the smaller parties. I know we got not Lib Dem and Green.
Yeah.
I still consider them to be somewhat major.
We don't. Well, we're not sure because the two councillors that other smaller parties have listed as, because it's just listed as others. So that could be, Heritage could have gained both of those councillors, but if it's still listed under others, it wouldn't matter if, I don't know, any other smaller party has lost those two. Similarly, independents have gained 5, so yeah. It's going to be interesting to see once we can get more detailed results, because BBC seems very insistent on not being able to show the actual council results. It'll just say this many councillors. It won't say who or for what party.
I'll tell you what. Should we do a little show tomorrow then, and go over maybe some of the remaining results, and seeing as though it's not looking like we're going to get too much more tonight.
Well, I think that'd be good, especially to go over the London mayoral result and see where that one. Because if you're still predicting, you think it's going to be a landslide by Calm.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but Sean's got me doubting that now, especially that I've seen, what was it? Sean Bailey was on around close.
He's
to
only 5% behind at the moment.
How much percent behind?
5%.
5% behind. Yeah, so that's
40,000 votes, give or take. Well, 50,000 votes, give or take.
But I think we're going to see the more Labour-y areas come later, I would imagine.
But all we need to do is stop Khan getting 50% of the vote, because then it goes to the second round, and we can see, I think a lot more people, Bailey might get some more votes there. David Curtin has just shy of 5,000 votes at the moment.
Okay. That's something.
Again, I don't think too much can be read into a lot of this, because, especially with the smaller parties, there are a lot of smaller parties running in London this time.
Someone's asked me to do a critique of capitalism.
I think that's certainly possible.
I
think about capitalism.
I support capitalism, but not unregulated capitalism, and I don't support completely free market. So I'm certainly not on the Margaret Thatcher spectrum. And I find the most cringiest type of political, well, I shouldn't be too harsh, but political nerds, I'll just say it, tend to be the Thatcherites, who I find very stringent and not very movable. I find their belief system very not what I believe in at all.
I think one of the easiest criticisms of capitalism, is that it is very easy to exploit, but that can also be a benefit to it. It just means that it can be exploited at the expense of a lot of people. But then those people have a fair chance to exploit it at everyone else's expense as well. And if you are coming from a perspective of being completely anti-exploitation of anything at all, then yeah, that's a fair, valid criticism. It depends on how you're trying to value the end result. And I think ultimately capitalism is the least bad system.
Yes. But we've discussed this before. You don't believe in unbridled capitalism, do you?
No. I think some regulation is necessary to stop monopoly.
Someone's put here that Damien Thatcher wasn't a free marketeer, which I mean, as far as I could see, she was a free marketer. Everything.
I think it might be worth one day having a go through of Thatcher's manifesto and policies.
I mean, unless he's referring to. In fact, no, because she sold the council housing to the private sector, didn't she? Did she build any council housing at all? I don't think she
Well, I
did.
mean, there is a whole lot to be said about council housing, because that's how that was meant to be reinvested and so forth was not how it was actually finally implemented. I remember watching a documentary on that, and I can't remember the name of the person that actually pushed for it originally. But it's very, very different from his original vision, which was a lot more, I don't want to say free market as such, but it's why council housing has sort of fallen apart in the past 30 years.
Well, we don't have enough of it, do we?
Exactly. And again, it's the ability to buy it from the council.
And supporting council housing is a direct opposition to complete capitalism. So I guess that immediately puts me against.
I think, but then again, this comes down to what you think the purpose of a government is. And to me, I think the purpose of the government is not to do things for you, but to enable you to do things.
And to be a safety net for the poor and the
government is not going to give you your council house, but what it's going to do is subsidize a lot of it so you can afford to pay it and then pay the rest back to them at a subsidized rate. But it's not just giving it to you. It's enabling. The government should be there to enable, not do things for
disable.
But at the same point, we have just hit the 2-hour mark, and if we go on further into that, that's going to really spiral.
Yeah, we'll end up debating what's that? Hans Hopper or whatever his name is soon.
Yes. Well, if we leave it there for tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow going over the London mayoral results and anything else that comes in.
Yeah, what do you reckon for that? Should we try and pop on about 7:30 as usual?
Yeah, same time, sounds good.
Okay, everyone watching now, pop on 7:30. We'll be there, and we'll discuss the rest of the results that have yet to come in. So we'll see what's happened with London, Scotland, Wales, and everything actually, because there's still a hell of a lot to be announced for everything. There hasn't been a conclusion to any of this really.
It is still massively ongoing. It's just over half of most seats. So
cool. All right, guys, it's been fun. So see you tomorrow at 7:30.
See you tomorrow.
Adios.